All right, I want to welcome everyone to our training today for Enterprise eTime. We're going to take a look at our newest version of eTime, which is the 8.1.6 version, and its newest features. Here, we're going to focus on several key portions. One, navigation. As we try to look through our entire time card, schedule, reports, how to get from one to another for our employees, and focus on those common features such as making edits, navigation through the different menus, and also our key features as managers with managing exceptions, fixing schedules, and also running reports before we get ready to approve our time cards. And also at the very end, we'll also take a look at employee punching within the MyAdb piece of that. Now, to begin, we're going to take a look at Adb Portal. How do we get into our newest version of Time? We're going to be using this site right here, portal.adp.com. And this is going to be our home page right here where we will be able to place our login right here. So now the neatest part about this is that with the single sign-on, we're going to receive a new login, and we're going to take this user ID and our password and be able to come into the system. And from here, once we get all of our security and new items set up, that we're going to be here in our new landing page within the portal site. We're going to locate our time and attendance tab, and from here we're going to just locate eTime. This will take us into a new pop-up. Now, one of the things that we do want to make note of is that the browsers in which we use has expanded. With the newest version, you can be able to use other items outside of Internet Explorer. In my example here, I'll be actually using Google Chrome. So I will actually be leaving this and pull up Portal itself. So I'm going to be logging in as a test manager right here into our Portal site and log in into this account where we will be able to access our time and attendance tab and locate Enterprise eTime. From here, I'm going to click here, and you can see that Google Chrome for me has opened up a new window. So this is going to be where we will find ourselves in the newest version of Time. So welcome to the newest version of Enterprise eTime. This is going to be our landing page where you'll see our quick find item right here. One of the biggest things in which we have is the introduction of what we call widgets. There's going to be some items in which we can use here, such as to get to our reports, schedule planner, but one of the key navigation items that you can see here, what we call our workspaces. The newest version of Time allows us to have different pieces or different workspaces open, which are new tabs, which we can have our time cards, schedules, reports, and other items open at the same time and independent of each other. So if I'm working on the schedule, I can leave that, move to my time card, do some work there, and not have to have that screen affected. So that's one of the neatest tools. Our quick finds will work very similar to what we are used to. And I'm just going to simply just select my key employee. I have a test employee right here, so I'm going to use what we call this asterisk right here, my wild card. And I'm going to click on search. If I just wanted to bring everyone up, we could have also placed just a blank search right here, and then all of my employees would have shown up from there. But I'm just going to take a look at this one employee right now. And we do have some options right here. You can see what the time frame I'm using. So here is my time period. And if I wanted to do a range of dates, say for instance I want to go back a few months, you can do that as well by selecting the start and end date right here. Additionally, you can see as part of your features, you can also have this select all rows if you have more employees selected, and also a filter option. So this filter option is there. But for the most part, we do have our key pieces right here for timekeeping, accruals, approval, but we'll actually take this into the time card. For me, since I have one employee selected, I can take this, and if I go to Team Time Card, go into all of my employees. But if I have just 1, 2, or 5, or X amount of employees selected, I can actually just double click this or also select the Go To feature right here. So this Go To is actually the same links, except that whoever I have selected, this carries over as well. So if I have 10 employees selected, I can take this to my Go To and take it over there. But for this, we're going to keep it simple. We're just going to double click our employee and open up that time card. And as you can see, I kept it at current pay period. So at this moment, this is going to be how our time card looks like. There are some key changes. Biggest change right now is going to be that our schedule has now been integrated with our table right here, our time card itself. For those that are familiar with the older version of Time, you would have found your table right here, the Totals and Schedules tab. But now our Totals tab is going to be individual for itself. so that we can actually just easily pan for what that schedule is. You can see that we have our schedules right here. Also, the other big change is that you may have been familiar with the Save button being on the top left. The Save button has now been relocated with a prominent icon over to the top right of our time card right here. And also the print features have also moved, and also the refresh. So if I've made some changes and I don't want to save it, you can simply just select the refresh without having to close that screen. My employee here, this test employee, has a few items going on, so we're going to take a look at that together. So let's see. We do have our schedule, 10 to 6 p.m. I did deviate from that. You can see that I have a 12 noon to an 8 p.m., and then also an 8 a.m. to an 8 p.m. So you can see that my employee is working a little bit extra in this case. They've kept the same shift, or same amount of hours here, so 7.5 hours. And also here we've expanded it out to be a little bit longer of a shift, just to show as an example of some items that may pop up. And additionally here we can see that as I highlight over this red cell, that my employee has actually also has a missing punch at this point. On here, you can see that our exceptions have switched into a red bar for absences. So instead of having a red box, it's going to be this red bar, but if you simply highlight over it, you can see that my employee has the unexcused absence. Edit's going to be similar to what you're used to for those that have been familiar with the legacy system of eTime, that we can come into the system, and if I want to come in here, I can simply just place that time back in here. So if the out punch was 6 p.m., I can simply come in here, place 6 p.m., and then going ahead, I can either preview my change. I don't have to save it. I can save it right now. But the calculate totals is also a key feature that is made prominent right here, where I can calculate my totals. And you can see that this is now set itself right here. And I can hit save. And then we can be able to get that set up right here into the system. Additionally, you'll see that within the time cards, when we do make edits, that this itself right here, this punch from from the Thursday right here, is actually going to not have a notch. This is going to be a true punch from the employee versus these other punches, which has the edited piece right here. That's because that I myself had came in as the manager and made these edits. It's possible that the employee did not have access to the time clock at that time, or they were away, and that we've given them, or we've done it on behalf of the employee. So here I've actually reconciled this exception right here, and I do have another one right here as well. So let's go take a look at some things in which we could do. If this employee was out sick, or if they were on vacation, or possibly that it's a holiday, depending upon the holidays in which you may choose, Labor Day is coming up. In this scenario, that would be one of the items that can be placed, or simply something like a vacation or a sick. You can see that I do have the search function here, and once we do select it, those codes, that we'll see that time come across here into the amount. So say, for instance, that I want to use the vacation pay code. So that I know that my employee is going to be on vacation. I'm scheduled to be in here from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we can select, I can either manually put in 7 hours and 30 minutes as my shift, or I can simply say, hey, I already do have that schedule. I can simply say, am I going to be gone for the full scheduled day, or at least portion of that half scheduled day? If I need to deviate from that, obviously you can type that in manually, but for simplicity's sake, I'm going to select that, calculate totals, just to show that it does populate right here. It shows 10 a.m. simply just because my shift starts at 10 a.m., so it's just going to match that real quick and say that we're going to be on vacation for those 7.5 hours. Notice right here that my absence is now excused. These are some of the things that you may see as managers as people take time off, but you'll see that the updates will come in through the schedule as well, so you won't have that as an exception that needs to be reviewed at that time. Other pieces that you may see, let's go earlier in the week. With other pay codes, you may actually run into the need to do some other changes. So say, for instance, that this person that came in a little bit later or had a deviate from the schedule right here on Tuesday, we're going to add what we call an on-call pay code. So I'm just going to use the on-call that we have here and simply just select an amount. I'm just going to say, it wasn't that much, so we'll just say 10 as a simple number. And notice that what I did was I added a new row because we've already have a row here for the punches. So this one row itself is going to be for the time itself. And now we've also created a new row for pay codes. so that this is actually that works similar to those that are familiar with the legacy time cards. This is exactly the same. The only thing that changes is that notice that the X's and the plus signs have changed location, so they've swapped sides because it's easier. I think it was easier to navigate that way. I'm going to simply just click on Calculate Totals, and you can see now that my Tuesday has 7.5 hours for that shift, plus $10 worth of on-call pay code right here. If that looks good, I'm going to go ahead and click Save. Let's go click Save right there, and I'm going to make this a little bit larger. For most of you, you're probably going to have more real estate on your time card. For the sake of this, for this recording, I've actually taken this a little bit bigger, so that's why it will look a lot larger than many of your normal screens right here. My total screen right here, notice that my vacation made it in. I do have my on-call pay code right here as part of the totals for my test employee, but I did also deviate from that schedule. My Wednesday right here has a 12-hour, actually an 11.5-hour shift, which did cause some unapproved time that needs to be taken care of. So what we would do here in this case is say, hey, we need to handle this. I'm going to locate my Totals tab. If there's an unapproved time right here, this unapproved section, I'm going to simply right-click on it, and you're going to see this Totals action window populate. And then from here, the next action is going to select Move Account. So for my Move Account, we're going to select what date that we want to assign that to. So where am I going to place this, these hours onto? And then also, what pay code will I set it to? Is it possible that this is premium time that I need to pay, or that this employee receives overtime or so forth? Possible. But in this case, they don't need it because I'm well below that time. So I'm just going to simply select reg. In this case, if that was the scenario, put my amount and then simply just hit OK. Now, this is situational depending on their punches and where it falls into, whether you need to select which category, one or the other. So once again, I'm going to repeat that. Right-click the pay code, simply select Move Amount, and then from here, you can select the proper pay code accordingly for your employee, plus the amount on the specific date that you would like those hours to go to. One of the other features in which we have, similar to your legacy version, is that we do have also the Accruals tab. You can see if the person is using vacation time, such as my employee right here, that you can also see those hours, a quick glance for the managers to use as a tool and snapshot. Now, I'm going to actually take my employee away from this current week and actually go into the future, into the next week, still part of the same pay period, but you may notice that I don't have anything yet because we're actually still, that's going to be out in the future, but my schedule is actually a bit off. It's actually duplicated. This employee in our scenario was meant to have a week 1, week 2. A little bit odd. I know this is a little bit unique, but having a week 1, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. But in our scenario, just to show how the schedules can be done, our employee now has on the week 2 portion of that biweekly pay period a 12:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. shift. But we still see that 8 or 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. still there. So we do need to figure out a way how to fix that. So I still want to stay with my one employee. We do have various options. I can come down here and then go into the schedule planner. So from here, I can open up the schedule planner, and this will open up every one of all my employees. And also, if I want to update this, my hyperfines is how I can be able to select which group I want. For many of us, all home is probably going to be the one that we want, but if there are other pieces that you have used, these have all carried over, and as you can see that there's quite a good few of them that passed over. So our hyperfines, you can see here, and I'll also highlight where else we can see hyperfines to use when we select our employees. But for my sake right now, I have one employee selected. I'm going to just select that Go To and just say for my time card, I want to take my test employee and I want to go to the schedule planner. That limits me from having to deal with the other employees and also from redoing my hyperfine query as well. So as you can see here, I just have that one employee. I do have my hyperfines as well right here. So notice that I can select my hyperfines if I wanted to switch from this one employee to my full group. All home is right here, or any of the other pieces or different queries that we have set up that you can select and use accordingly to which one meets your need. In the schedule itself here, I've carried it over, so I only have one employee, and there are a few different features that we have right here. Yes, you can sort them how you want it by name. We can also set it up in different ways in which we can see our views. In this case right here, you can see that even though I have a 2-week schedule period right here, it's opened up on this tab. Notice that we have this tealish blue circle right here that indicates my current week that I'm in right now. And if you also locate the date right here, this is actually today's date. So at the time of this recording, that our schedule falls onto this date right here. And my employee here, we could see that they have a 10A to 6P schedule on week 1, but week 2 of the period, we notice that that's where it did get doubled up. We did determine that the 12:30 p.m. is the correct one, and we're going to look at different ways in how we can still resolve this. The most, or at least the least effective route would be to come in here and to manually do it each day. Because if you do this, then you will find out that as you continue to go on to the next schedule periods, that you'll continue to see that this will continue to become what we call a pattern. It will become something that will not stop until a set period of time. That's where we'll come in and see how can we identify that. It's because our employee's popular or template is assigned automatically in what was called a schedule pattern. Now, in this case, my employee was already set with that. If this was a new person on my team, I would have to create that pattern for them. So in order to get there, I'm just going to simply go to my employee, right-click on the name, and you can locate that schedule pattern right here. It's going to open up this new pop-up, and you can see what I already have. So starting on the 26th of this month, and it's going to go on forever in this case, so there's no hard stop date. So as long as I don't change it, it's going to keep on going every time. And my duration was set for 2 weeks simply because it's a bi-weekly. We have a week 1 and a week 2. So you can see that we do have what we call this rotation right here for these 2 weeks. A 10 a.m. and a 6 p.m. obviously we saw from Monday to Friday. But then you can also see that it also populates week 2, Monday to Friday, and then that 12:30 right here is going to come in, or that 12:30 to 8:30 is going to come in on week 2. So it's a little bit bigger than what I have being zoomed in, but if you highlight over, you can see that it is populated in that little pop-up right here. If this is incorrect, or I need to modify, say for instance that my employee is now going to switch shifts permanently. If that's the case, this will also be a similar method in which we can do. 2 options if I need to change that schedule. Simply, you know what, we can just simply delete the schedule. Let's go do that. Delete the schedule because it's incorrect. Are you sure you want to delete it? Let's go hit yes, hit OK, and that's perfectly fine. You can say hit save, and now my schedule is actually removed for that employee. Notice I do have a 12:30, 8:30 here. It's because when I was here, I was using the schedule pattern tool. This one I actually typed in manually as an employee or as a manager. So those are all some of the other things that you may see as managers, is that once I make an edit, it was no longer applied by the schedule pattern. It was applied by me, the manager itself. The system will defer to my own edit. So if there are some edits in which I made that are also incorrect, I have to reconcile that myself too. So if this is the case and I don't want this, I can say, is this what I want? I can copy it, paste it across, but if it's not what I want, I can just simply come in and have that removed. But let's go in and see where we're at. So let's go back to my current period, and let's go make sure, because if you remember, this week right here, starting on the 26th, it was going to be my the week in which I had the 10 a.m. shift, and the next week will be the 12:30. So let's go in and add that schedule pattern back in. So right here, actually, I apologize, it is actually doing the apply pattern, so it's going to give some time. Let's go refresh the screen. And if that happens, it's just because it's going through, because we set it up forever, so it does take a moment. Simply just go ahead, back up, refresh the screen, come back to your schedule pattern, and then from here we can make those edits again. So what I did simply was right-clicked it, select the schedule pattern, and now you can see that I can come in here and create some that new template right here. So my key feature right here is that when I add a pattern, my anchor date, what is week 1? Can I set it in the past? Yes. I could go backwards in time and set it in the past, but for simplicity's sake, I'll say that my start date, when I want the schedule to apply, which is this week, and what's that anchor date? I'm on week 1, so I can say that that's week 1 too, so that my anchor date could be a different date just in case if I fall mid-pay period as well. But in our scenario, we actually matched it up. And then the end date, if I don't select anything, notice that I have forever selected, perfectly fine. So here, within my shift itself, I can say, week 1, let's go select a pattern. Now, within all these pattern templates right here, I actually did select that 10A to 6P. So we selected this one right here. But for week 2, there was actually a little bit of a change right here where I was like, you know what? They actually do have a split where we took them over to what we call that 12:30 to 8:30. So I'm just going to select this one right here. And notice that it did double up. I'm going to simply right-click it and select copy because I want to put it on throughout all of week 2. So copy that right here, and then we'll select that and simply click on paste, right-click, select paste, right-click, paste, right-click, paste. Now notice I'm not doing this. I'm not using my keyboard on this case. For those that prefer the keyboard, that is also a similar tool, but in this scenario, I'm just simply going to right-click it and then perform the action itself right here so it's visible to all. I'm going to right-click that 10A to 6P, delete that, and simply just repeat that in the pattern itself so that I can then have what we just want, which is going to be just at 12:30 to 8:30 p.m. At this point, I'm going to say, take another look. That is correct. If I did have any other patterns in here, I've already deleted it. So this is not as necessary, but just in case if I skip the deletion process and I just went here to fix the pattern itself, it's important to make sure that we select this just in case that there's any other patterns out there. Remember, patterns are different if I've manually modified it, because then that's no longer part of the pattern. It's now part of my own specific changes. The system's not going to touch those. Let's go ahead and click on apply. It may delete shifts on unavailable days. That's exactly what we do. We don't have any locked days, so that is perfectly fine with us. I'm going to select OK. Right here on this next screen, you can see that I have week 1, 10A to 6P, week 2, that modified later schedule, and that's what we're going to have. So right here, you can see 10A back there, and let's go to that next schedule period. Actually, let's go hit save first, which is up here, similar to our time cards, and then hit the next schedule period. And then you can see that it will take some time as it applies the template right here. Let's go click on refresh a few times to see if it will populate. And there you can see it starts to populate. So our pattern is going to have those tools created. So as managers, you may want to see it outright, but remember that it's still creating it going forward and making sure that everything lines up. So you may have to utilize these tools or give it a moment. As you can see now, it's done. I do still have that one manager edit in which I created. That's because this one itself is me. I did that manually. The pattern deferred to my edits on top of this. So because of that, I need to come in here and delete this itself. So I can either come in here, let's simply just use the delete key and then click away, and then you can see that it's gone. And then I'm just going to simply hit save. Also, you could assume that I could have right-clicked it and also hit delete. That's another option, but in this case, I actually used my keyboard. Once again, my hyperfine queries, if I do need to adjust or to enhance my views, you can do that as well. And then there's also other tools in which we have, such as if you like Gantt view, this is also one option as well. If you prefer to see it within the 24-hour timeline, you can see it like this. And then you can go back to the current period to see how it fits within the day itself. It's easier to see for the overnight employees if you prefer that. But for the most part, I do prefer tabular view because I can just see it easily right here and edit it as necessary. These are going to be some of the key features in which you will have with the scheduler itself. Now, once we have this, I want to select my employee again. My time card has been worked on. My schedules have been updated. So let's come back to this time card itself. Notice that my time card and my schedule planner, these two workspaces are now independent of each other. I can flip back and forth, hit save on one, and have it not worry about the other. But because of that, here, my card still has the old schedule starting this week right here. Let's go hit refresh. So if that does look like it's the case, simply just select that refresh, come back down, and notice that our schedule has now been updated because we had come in here, made the modifications, and saved it within that schedule planner, that when we come back into our time card itself, that has now updated itself. So if there are any other items that would have come across with some exceptions because of the punches, they may have fixed itself because we've also fixed it in the scheduler. So these are some of the key features in which we'll see within the time card and schedules they work together. Additionally, I'm going to take a look at the previous pay period just to let you see some other items right here. This is an unexcused absence. So my employee was supposed to work 10A to 6P on this week. They did not, so we don't have any punches on this week, so we'll have that. We do also review, once again, that excused absence. And also you can see that I do have a missed punch and another missed punch right here. These are both those exceptions just because it matches with that schedule. Let's go now into our report. So we're going to start taking a look at some key reports. I simply just want to run it for this one employee. If I want to adjust it into the larger group, that is also a possibility. Some of the key reports here that you'll have are still going to be the exact same reports that you've seen in the past for those that are familiar with the previous version of Time. These reports are carried over. There are some new functionalities that come along with it. I want to show you this time detail report. So for those that are familiar with the time detail report, it now also comes in what we have as an Excel export option. So instead of just simply having this in our PDF version, you can also then highlight the Excel version. These are going to be throughout the many numerous reports. You'll see it with the Excel option itself. So you'll have version 1, the PDF only, and also version 2 with the Excel option possible. But here, for us right now, notice that I use that go-to feature. So this is going to give me what we have as that previously selected employee or employees. I actually only have one employee at this point. If I want to run the report for all my employees, I can go back, locate my hyperfind query, let's say, for instance, all home, select my time frame, say, for instance, previous pay period, so I want to review the time cards before we process or before we make those approvals. And then simply from here, you can take a look at everything. And then if this is the case, go ahead and run that report. You can run that report right here. And it's going to take us over to the secondary tab, this check status report. You can see that this is mine, test or TLM manager right here, and it's going to take some time. So because of that, I want to select refresh status, similar to what we've used in the schedule planner. And as this is running, it's going to take some time, and you can see that I can pull it up here in that PDF format. If I wanted to as well while that's running, I can also have done some other items. So instead of just running that report, could I have emailed it to myself? Yes. I like the email option because just in case if I'm not in time, I will have it in my Outlook inbox right there. Also, you can use this to print it out. So if we need to print out a report for any of our teammates or any of our associates, then we can provide that option from here. One of the newest and my favorite option right here is what we call this Create Favorite Report right here. So say, for instance, there's a report that you really like and you really use often. Instead of having to come down and scrolling through everything to locate your report each time, you can simply just say, hey, I'm going to do a favorite. And you can see that I have a favorite report test right here. What I did was I created this one for my person itself. So this is going to be my own favorite so I can bookmark. And I can have it right here. So this is actually the time detail report. So you can see that this favorite report based on time detail, and I can set it up right here. How do I want to do it? Do I need to change any of these options? And I can just simply hit Run Report. It's the exact same thing, but I've now bookmarked it up top. So if I wanted to come in and create some others, so say, for instance, a schedule report, and I want to do a actual versus schedule by job, and set this up as a favorite, I can simply say, select this, create favorite, and then from here, I can give it a name, some notes, and you can see it's right here. And then after that, you can save that favorite right there. And they can be found up top. And if for those that have, if it needs to be taken out, you find something better, you can simply just select delete that favorite. As you can see here, my report is done. I don't have any information besides my one employee, so I pretty much know what's in there. But from here, you can also double click here, open up that PDF. You can see as well that I do have my go-to features alongside here. Once we get to this point, time card looks good, schedules obviously are good, reports look good. As a manager, you'll probably select all of your employees right at this point, and we're going to go into what we call the time card approval process. Some of you may use these quick finds. For those that use the legacy version of these, what we call quick navs, You can see that the reconciled time card is here, and also other items such as the approval summaries if you prefer it, but for the same, they all achieve the same goal. If we select all our employees and we take it to the time card, we can come back at the end of the period, review all that time, make all those fixes, and then right here is our key feature right here that we can approve that time card itself. So in this method, we're approving that time card one by one. If I have 20 employees, you can then do the drop down or use this to keep them going from one employee to the next. So from here, employee 1, review everything, approve time card. And then you can go on from there. And at the very end, you can check also with those reports, make sure everything looks good, so that your payroll team will be able to receive that information. So these are going to be some of the key features in which you will have within your newest version of Time. So once again, you'll take a look at your time card, your schedule planner, and your go-to links, and you do have other features such as within your home page right here, under your manager links, you will also be able to find all those previous tools that many of you probably have used. And these are what we call those quick navs, such as that reconcile time card and that approval summary, that these will also be there available still for you. So you can see here my All Home has a lot of employees. So I hit the limit, but if I did pare it down, then I'll be able to come in here and make sure that I have that checkbox right here, that it is approved. I've done my part, so that your payroll team can then go forth, sign off those time cards, and accomplish their role. Those are going to be some of the key features that we have. I want to go back into my slide deck right here because that's what we've talked about within the slide deck. So this is going to also be a tool for you to use as you go through this. So you'll see that we have the time cards right here, such as saving our edits, and also other items such as our hyperfine queries, and also discussing a little bit more about that go-to navigation on top of using just that plus sign into that new workspace itself. So once again, go-to navigation will just carry along who I have selected. So in this case, only one employee. If I had 20 or even 10 employees selected, then that's what would carry me over into that next screen right there. We've also talked about our scheduler and how to create those patterns itself. So when we create those patterns, we've talked about the anchor date, start date, end date, and also the override patterns and several tools in which we can have, especially when we're setting up patterns for new employees. If they need to have a shift that's set up that we can be able to pick an existing pattern, we can do that. But if we just need to manually type it in, that's also an item that we can do as well. And we talked about those reports. So those reports can be key for us in managing our day-to-day duties and also to keep us on track. Finally, let's go take us over into this MyADP portion for the employees itself. So many of us will have employees that we're punching via MyADP. This is going to be the last piece that we will have. I'm going to bring in this other screen right here, and it's going to show. So I'm actually going to log in now. You saw me previously logged in as an employee, or sorry, as a manager. Now I'm going to be logged in as an employee. So let's go ahead and click on Sign In right here. And simply, all the employees will need to do is to, from here, locate this MyADP link highlighted in red, and it's going to take us into this new tab. And with my single sign-on, I'm going to take my password. It's already logged in. So myself now as an employee and not a manager, this will come in. And then from this window right here, you can see that I'll be able to clock in. So my last punch was yesterday at 6 p.m. So I have yet to clock in today. So notice that it's intuitive. My button right now is that clock in. So I'm going to click that as an employee. And then from here, you're going to see that it's going to post 11:15 a.m. local time. And you can see that I have this green circle right here, and it's located as the in punch. So as an employee, I can tell. So the next action that I do will actually be clocking out. And I do have a link to see my recent punches as well. So these are going to be some of the key features that your employees will do. And once they're done with that, simply come in here, close the browser itself, or simply just select log out. And they are done until they're ready to clock in or clock out again. And that's pretty much their experience within the MyADP system itself. And if you do have any questions, definitely reach out. You do have these items as tools, or reach out to your subject matter experts or to those that are familiar with the system itself, and we can go from there. Thank you for your time, and look forward to hearing your great success.